Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
I'm Jacob.
Today sees the release of Space Jam: The New Legacy, the much anticipated sequel to the 90s classic.
I suppose it's really relative, depending on your preferences, but I will say there's been a pretty vocal factor out of the original Space Jam fans wanting the sequel, and here it is.
It's 2 hours long, the new one. That's not necessary.
Good lord.
But today we're going to be talking about the two original live-action animation blends, Looney Tunes Back in Action from 2003, starring Brendan Fraser alongside Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, as well as, of course, Space Jam from 1996, starring Michael Jordan. So, what are your thoughts on these films, just initially returning to these after so many years away?
They are both very much a product of their time, but they both certainly have their own charm to them.
Yes. The first Space Jam, I feel, is very much like a Michael Jordan vehicle.
Oh, absolutely.
And Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck just happen to be there. And the second one feels much more like a Looney Tunes thing with Brendan Fraser thrown in as well, with its own stuff going on.
I will say Back in Action was much better acted, but that's to be expected with Brendan Fraser on the helm.
Yeah, he's really good.
Oh, he's fantastic. He even gets to punch himself at one point, which is my favourite part of the movie.
There's a great part where Timothy Dalton actually has to punch himself a few times in the face.
Oh, yeah. God, that movie's weird. In a good way. Fantastic.
Yeah. But the original Space Jam was inspired by a bunch of commercials from the 90s starring Michael Jordan, then greatest basketballer ever, alongside Bugs Bunny. And that spawned this film, which also stars Wayne Knight from Seinfeld, as well as Bill Murray.
For some reason, he just shows up.
Yeah, it's very...
acting very Bill Murray.
He's very Bill Murray. I sort of didn't think the whole meta Bill Murray thing didn't start until like later, but it seems this is...
Bill Murray's been meta Bill Murray for a long time.
That's true. So, the story with that is bonkers.
Oh, it's absolutely nonsense. It's just completely ridiculous. It makes no real sense. There's no real logic behind it, and it's fantastic. It is a movie that knows what it is. It is a Michael Jackson vehicle featuring some bonkers Looney Tunes nonsense, and they just roll with it, and I respect that.
Well, Michael Jordan, not Michael Jackson.
What, did I say Michael Jackson?
You did, yeah.
Michael Jordan, I apologise.
Yeah, well, that would have been something as well, if Michael Jackson had been in it.
I think I'll stick with the Michael Jordan one. Personally.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Michael Jackson, but Michael Jordan was more... less corpse-like at the time?
Yeah. Well, physically at least, the acting leads somewhat to be desired.
But at the end of the day, he was very much a sportsman. He was a basketballer and a baseball at the time, and I will point out that we are two pasty white guys who do not partake in sports whatsoever, so forgive us for any incorrect opinions when it comes to sports ball. That is not our field of expertise. Our field of expertise is films and cartoons. Thankfully, there are Looney Tunes, so we do have something to talk about here.
Yeah, well, I find with Space Jam that the Looney Tunes are sort of in name only. Like, they're not really them, I feel.
They're not characterised quite as much as they would be in otherwise. Because they do feel kind of like they were written just for the movie as opposed to being these long-term cartoon legends as they were.
Yeah, agreed. It's sort of like there's nothing that really makes them stand out, and they kind of all band together, which is really not what you see in the traditional Looney Tunes cartoons.
There is some good Looney Tunes slapstick, but they do tend to take a backseat to Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and the new editions, which are the aliens. The Monstars.
I will say, I really enjoyed their designs. I thought they had fantastic designs, both when they're tiny little midgets and big, scary men.
Yeah, they're really good, actually.
The animation was... the Looney Tunes animation was also quite good, and I quite enjoyed watching the Monstars just do things. It was just fun to see how they managed to work these gigantic creatures against Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Their limbs, like, twist and turn as they move, and... it's really like exaggerated and expressive and quite different to like the traditional Looney Tune style.
It's quite fun.
It sort of reminded me at parts like of Aeon Flux, sort of exaggerated.
Yeah, it's very kind of... It's hard to explain, but it's good.
Again, we're talking about a visual thing in an audio
visual thing on radio, and it doesn't really translate well. I will say I also appreciated having Marlon Martian as the referee.
Yes.
Seeing as he is both a Looney Tunes and an alien. I thought that was a nice touch.
That is true. Going into this as well, I remembered very little, but what I did remember, I remembered very well. Like, I don't remember when the other basketballers lose their powers, and there's like a whole montage of them being tested and like in hospital and like just failing at sports.
And just being really down.
Yeah.
Which, fair enough at the time. You can imagine that would be pretty bit of down. It's like, oh, I can't play basketball anymore. Why?
Yeah. And I do remember when Michael Jordan gets sucked into the hole on the golf course and Wayne Knight goes and digs up the golf course.
Yeah. Which, I mean, props for trying, buddy.
Yeah. But the story of this is that on a far-off distant planet, there's an alien amusement park owner who figures the Looney Tunes are going to be a great new attraction, so he sends his little mites, his midgets, down to kidnap the Looney Tunes. And Bugs Bunny orchestrates like, okay, well, maybe we get to fight, for our right to party. Terrible. We're going to have a basketball game to determine, whether you take us or not. And they recruit Michael Jordan, and the Monstars go and steal the powers of all these other famous basketballers. What was the scene when they do steal it? There's the couple, and it's Patricia Heaton from Everybody Loves Raymond, and Dan Castellaneta, Homer Simpson.
Oh, yeah, that was too. That was kind of weirdly out of nowhere, but...
Yeah.
I thought that was just the producers giving their mates a little cameo for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I think so. That could have been it as well, Two big stars at the time. I mean, Simpsons and
oh, yeah, they were massive.
Raymond were massive, yeah. That's kind of the setup, and then the rest of the film is kind of a Michael Jordan biopic.
Featuring Looney Tunes.
Yeah. It opens with him playing basketball as a child and his dad coming out.
Yeah, it does. It is set up like it's a biopic, and then they just think, what if we put Looney Tunes in there? And then they did.
And then...
his whole return to basketball was because of Looney Tunes.
Yeah. The classic theme of this film as well, like the, hey, you, what you gonna do? That's the opening montage as well of just Michael Jordan's career. It's not Looney Tunes playing basketball, it's Michael Jordan.
Pretty much. And
it's very strange looking back at this.
It is, like I said, very much a product of its time. It is aggressively 90s. Enjoyable soundtrack. The soundtrack's quite enjoyable, actually.
Yeah.
It's good for getting you like, yeah, let's go play some sports ball, basket base, as they say.
Basketball.
Oh, God, that's a movie we should talk about sometime.
Yeah. We won't go off on that tangent, but I have seen that.
Like I said, the movie is corny, poorly acted, ridiculous, nonsense, and all these years later, I still find it very enjoyable.
Yeah, I think this would continue to engage with kids.
It's the kind of movie that's just fun to sit down and watch. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It goes in, it knows what it is, it embraces what it is, and it goes all in. And I, for one, find that a lot of fun.
It's very brisk, this film. Like, it's barely 80 minutes.
Oh, yeah, no, they just get in and get out. As soon as they just get in, get their job done, and get out, and I respect that.
Yeah. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
So if you want to check it out, go check it out on Netflix before you go see the new film or afterwards. Or instead of, maybe. Who knows? Looney Tunes back in action, though. This is very much a different thing. I remember when this one came out.
That one is much more a Looney Tunes movie featuring a bloke.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan Fraser was kind of, coming off the whole George of the Jungle, The Mummy, sort of...
Just want to point out that Brendan Fraser is still, to this day, one of the finest actors Hollywood's ever produced, and I miss him. I know he's doing stuff again, which I'm so grateful for, but he just disappeared for a long time, and it was just a void.
Yeah, it's quite a sad story.
It is very... Bit too dour to go into on this, but...
Yeah, he in this film is great, as well as Jenna Elfman, who plays like the female lead in this. Both really physical and really interact well. Like, there's a moment I remember very early on where she's escorting Daffy from the premises and Daffy takes off and she gets, like, pulled. Yes. Like, really violently. Like, she was really legitimately pulled, and she probably was, but, just the way they interact, they sort of managed to keep up with Looney Tunes.
It really feels more like a movie where the actors are interacting and existing alongside the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that comes from their acting ability.
Yeah.
And them understanding that what they're doing is a bit silly, but they're fine with it. You can tell they're not... You can always tell when an actor's just kind of phoning it in for a performance. But they both think, well, no, we're here to act alongside Looney Tunes. Let's act like we're acting alongside Looney Tunes. And that really comes across in the movie. It's not high art. It's not an overly intelligent movie, but it is a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, I will say there's quite a few jokes that made me laugh, and I'm like, is this secretly genius, or like there's just a few jokes genius, or am I just an idiot? You know?
I think either way is fine, to be honest. There's nothing wrong with being a bit of an idiot watching movies. If you can enjoy it, you enjoy it. That's how it should be.
Steve Martin's in this as well.
He is.
Which I didn't realise it was him until I actually watched it now. I thought it was Robin Williams when I was younger, for some reason.
Look, when we're kids, we don't really understand what people are.
No, we don't. But he plays the chairman of the Acme Corporation, which is a staple of the Looney Tunes, cartoons.
Absolutely.
And he's got a devious scheme. And Brendan Fraser's dad, played by Timothy Dalton, is a super spy, playing an actor, playing a super spy.
Yeah.
And interesting to see him as well.
Yeah, it's good to see him back again.
One of the best Bonds.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've spoken about that extensively before on the show.
Yeah.
Really feels like a loyal homage to the Looney Tunes.
It does feel like more of a love letter than Space Jam did. They both have their own charm, but this one feels much more like a Looney Tunes vehicle that they chuck Brendan Fraser in for and giggles.
Yeah.
Which worked, because Brendan Fraser's just always fantastic.
He is, yeah. Yeah, just great introduction, where you think he's a cop, and then he's an actor, but no, he's a stuntman, no, he's a thing, and then lots of little jokes, self-referential jokes, like, you ever see the Mummy movies? I was in those more than Brendan Fraser was.
Because he is basically Brendan Fraser's playing Brendan Fraser's stuntman.
Yeah.
Which is quite funny to watch, because it's just Brendan Fraser pretending not to be Brendan Fraser while looking just like Brendan Fraser.
Yeah. He did actually do quite a lot of his own stunts.
He did.
Brendan Fraser. I think he said that's why he's wrecked himself so bad.
He was a bit of a mad lad, but he just went a bit too hard, unfortunately.
It looks like he did a lot of it here. That, or he did have a very good stunt double.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a Looney Tunes, I guess, not so much fan, but person who saw the originals, there's a lot of stuff in here for you. I mean, there's even a cameo of Matthew Lillard as, talking with Shaggy and Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, which is great, because Matthew Lillard was fantastic as Shaggy. He brought Shaggy to life, but that's an episode for another day.
Yeah. Oh, I think we've discussed it before, actually.
Oh, we have to, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, that is a discussion for a past day.
But yeah, it's sort of like the cronies of Yosemite Sam, I recognise from like a classic Looney Tunes cartoon where he was like this bandit that entered the town, and it was a competition between Bugs Bunny and Daffy to drive this guy out, and he just would slowly walk and the spurs would jangle, and he would just this big hunched over stiff bandit. And no, it was Porky Pig. It was Porky Pig and Bugs Bunny, who's not in this film much either.
No, which is a shame, but it is what it is.
They do have a bit of a self-referential thing where he's not, politically correct, and neither is Speedy Gonzales, as they moan about it in the thing.
Look, the only one I really look back and think's really incorrect, because apparently Speedy Gonzales was surprisingly popular in Mexico. Apparently, I was like, okay, that's not expected, but cool. Pepe Le Pew hasn't aged well.
No.
Pepe Le Pew hasn't aged well at all.
It was controversy, actually, when they said he wasn't going to be in a new film.
I can completely understand why.
He's a fun design, Pepe Le Pew.
He is, just his characterization's not great for the modern world.
No, he's very
rapey.
Weinstein-y.
Yeah, Weinstein-y.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not this day and age, thank you very much.
No. He does get a brief cameo, though, as a, tour guide. It stood out to me, actually, watching this. It sounds silly, but they go to Paris in this film, and I'm watching, I'm like, that's not Paris. I know that's like a stupid thing to say, but when you're a kid, you're like, oh, wow, they went to Paris. They went to the Amazons.
That's not Paris. That's just a set.
It is.
But that's fine. That's acting for you. Unless you're something rich, then just go around the world and act in places.
I think... No, wait, that was something else. Yeah, it was... I got confused for a moment. I was going to talk about Wolverine.
Not yet, Royce.
No, not yet. This is also very laden with product placement. I think even more so than Space Jam.
Oh, absolutely.
Walmart. If we say Walmart enough times, they gave us all these free refreshments.
I mean, yeah, but that's the early 2000s movies, especially ones featuring cartoon characters plus live action. You're going to get a lot of product placements. That was just the thing they did. Because they referenced it while still getting the product placement.
Yeah. This is very similar in some regards to Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
No, absolutely.
In regards to like the Looney Tunes being actors within the cartoons and employed and existing within the real world, as opposed to like their sort of tucked away pocket dimension in Space Jam.
They're very much they're a fact of the world, not just like you said, a weird pocket dimension that never really got explained.
No, and besides a Michael Jordan cameo, which is actually reused footage from Space Jam, which was really obvious watching these back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no references to Space Jam at all.
I'd say they're basically meant to be different universes.
Yeah. No Lola Bunny, so no sad furries that day. Unless you know that they were there for Bugs, which I mean they got a lot of.
True. Bugs is always good.
Bugs is great, I think.
Was he Mel Blanc in those movies?
No, Mel Blanc was long dead.
No, I thought
by this
so.
time.
Yeah,
He was the same voice actor doing both Daffy and Bugs. It's funny, isn't it? You know, before you had Mel Blanc who just did everyone.
Yeah.
And now you got to like split the characters across. You know.
And everybody's got someone else, and just Man, Mel Blanc was a legend.
He was, yeah.
Oh yes, the new ones do a perfectly serviceable job.
I think he sounded better in this one, the guy who did Bugs.
He did sound a lot more Bugs, which is good. No, it's always good when they've got a person that takes over and they do a good job.
Yeah.
Because they usually got big shoes to fill, so they always got a lot of pressure on them, so it's good when they succeed.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's a similar deal with the Muppets in a way.
Oh, absolutely. Or when Matthew Lillard took over as Shaggy.
Yeah.
Which he did an absolutely bang-up job of.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had to check to make sure, it was him doing the voice of Shaggy. It was Casey Kasem, classic Shaggy, doing the voice of Shaggy in this brief cameo in this film.
The OG.
Yeah.
Good old Casey Kasem.
What else is there? There's Daleks in this movie.
For some reason. They kind of just, because a lot of it takes place around Hollywood and stuff, they just shove as many references in as they can.
Which seems to be the thing with the new film as well, based upon what I saw. Like, there's a Clockwork Orange references in the new film.
Oh.
In a kid's film.
That's for the parents, I think.
Yeah.
But you got to chuck a few jokes in for mums and dads.
Oh, hey, remember this scene in Singing in the Rain, you know? Looney Tunes.
Wait, that scene?
I'm from Clockwork Orange. Yeah.
They referenced that scene?
I don't know, but the Droogs are all there with their phallic masks and that.
That's of all the scenes to reference in that movie, they chose that one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of which, there's a Psycho reference in Back in Action where she walks in on Bugs and he screams.
That creeped me up as a kid. I didn't know it was wrestling as a kid, obviously. I had no idea what Psycho was when I was a kid, but I think I just found screaming amusing as a child. I was very easily amused when I was young.
There's
not much has changed.
Well, there's a mixture of that and wordplay and all kinds of stuff in this film.
It's honestly a pretty good watch. It's aged reasonably well. There's always going to be a few jokes that land flat in this day and age, but for the most part, it's just fun.
I was surprised how her phone was quite modern. That stood out to me. Like, it's got a camera on it, and
that was cutting edge of the time.
Yeah. But talking about not aged well, there's a moment where Ron Perlman's in this film as well. He's on like the board of directors at Acme.
Oh God, he is too. Everyone's in this movie.
And he gets vaporized. He gets turned into a skeleton.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah. But yeah, some of Steve Martin's bits are a bit strange.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Steve Martin's humour hasn't aged particularly well. I like Steve Martin in movies. I don't always like as a real person. I don't go into that kind of stuff, but
we should take his masterclass on acting or comedy for only, I don't know, what's the subscription?
No, I'm good. But a lot of his humour is, even looking back, a lot of it's not going to age particularly well.
Have you seen many of his films?
I've seen a few back in the day. I couldn't name them all off the top of my head, but I know I've seen a few.
I remember I liked The Man with Two Brains, which is a deep cut. The Jerk I saw last year for the first time, and that was a mixed bag, I found. But, you know,
I think it's a lot of Steve Martin comedies a mixed bag. He's either really bloody funny or just tone deaf.
I liked him in The Pink Panther, which is probably sacrilegious, you know.
Oh, that's fine. He's better than Chevy Chase.
Yes. Well, he's good in some things.
Yeah, exactly. Other things you're a bit like, Jesus Christ, man, just stop talking. But the same can be said for a lot of comic actors.
Sort of final thoughts on these two films, like things that stood out to you if you did.
I think they're both well worth a rewatch in this day and age. They're both the same theme, which is people with Looney Tunes,
Yeah.
but wildly different movies. But I think that's a good thing. It's good to have that option. Like, if you want a cartoon with live action, you can go watch Space Jam, or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or Looney Tunes Back in Action, or Blinky Bill.
Was there a live action crossover, Blinky Bill, was there, or are you just talking in general?
Well, Blinky Bill, one of the original cartoon movies, basically had the cartoons, but the backgrounds were all Outback Australia.
Oh, right.
So all the characters were still cartoons, but the actual backdrops and everything else was all live action.
Wow.
Which is one of my favourite movies as a kid, because I used to love Blinky Bill as a kid.
Yeah, I've not seen Blinky Bill for a
Yeah,
long
give it a look.
time.
It's still decent.
Yeah.
It's very much an Australian animation. So.
Very much so, yeah. Another sort of live-action animation blend from the time was Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh, God, that takes me back.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid I loved that. Then I saw it again as an adult, and I was like, holy God, this is aged poorly.
It's often the case, eh?
Yeah. I mean, I'd still think for kids it's good. It's funny. It's just very typical nonsense.
It's,
Don't go in for plot.
No. It was actually less cartoon. It was strange, that, because I think following this, we kind of had a few cartoon adaptations. Like, we had Scooby-Doo, which we talked about on the show before.
Yep.
There was Yogi Bear, which was Dan Aykroyd doing Yogi Bear, and Justin Timberlake as Boo.
Never watched that one.
No, I
think
never
I missed
saw it
much.
myself. But that was CGI.
Yeah, which I'll talk about that another day.
And Rocky and Bullwinkle was like sort of a cel-shaded CGI.
Especially seeing as Rocky and Bullwinkle was a very old cartoon.
I've never actually seen it myself.
Yeah, it's very. I think it's as old as Scooby Doo or something. But it didn't have quite the cultural impact as that one did.
It's curious.
So it's kind of like, how Marvel brought back Guardians of the Galaxy as a movie. That's kind of what it felt like when they brought back Rocky and Bullwinkle. But it could have been a big thing in other parts of the world that I didn't know about. It does seem like something big in Canada.
Yeah.
It does seem very Canadian. Like Dudley Do-Right, another Brendan Fraser movie.
Oh, not seen that one. I know Woody Woodpecker is actually big in Brazil for some reason.
Yeah, like the weirdest ones get big in the weirdest places you wouldn't expect.
Yeah. Strange that, hey?
Yeah. I guess different things appeal to different cultures and different people.
Yeah. Is there any other live-action animated blends? I mean, I've only seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit once. And I think that held up more than these ones do.
That one is kind of timeless, but I think it's mostly because of who played the main guy? It's Murray.
Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins, thank you. Bob Hoskins as Eddie Valiant really carried that movie because he just goes with it. He embraces the fact he's acting alongside cartoons. He's like, it's fine. I'm going to strangle a fake rabbit. I'm going to have weird, awkward, flirtatious things with this cartoon woman.
Yeah.
And Bob Hoskins was great. And he's Eddie. And Eddie, it was very much one of those old private detective noir films that just happened to have cartoon characters in it.
Yeah.
Which worked.
It really did. And
obviously, a few things have aged poorly, but on the whole, I think it's still a fantastic watch.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm a sucker for old noir detective movies, so...
Gives you the best of both worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
Final thoughts?
Cartoon good, movie good, went together, also good, usually sometimes.
Yeah. Well, the original Space Jam is available to watch on Netflix. Looney Tunes Back in Action, as far as I'm aware, isn't on any easily accessible platforms.
Not that I can know of, no.
So unless you have a DVD or, means to acquire it, totally legal. Yeah, it's out there. Yeah. And I'd recommend them both if you want to check them out.
Absolutely.
Yes. Space Jam is very much a Michael Jordan vehicle, which just so happens to have Looney Tunes, and Looney Tunes Back in Action is very much a homage to the classics and a modernisation, and throws in Brendan Fraser for good measure.
Which is always good to see.
Very much so. Anyway, this has been the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
I'm Jacob.
See you next time. Bye for now.